All righty, I think we're just about ready to get in here. If I could ask everybody to go on mute. And sadly, I'm not putting up the flag today, so grab a flag. We can just all rise for the pledge.
Okay. John Jail. Yeah, you're one of my friends. I'm one of your friends. Don't I did not spill your food. No, one of my other friends spilled your food, and I thought that was not very nice.
All right, Senator Eckhart, if you could do the prayer, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and just wanted to bring you a word for the day out of Proverbs. In everything you do, put God first, and he will direct you and crown your efforts with success. So pray with me. For the opportunity that we have to have all these little people with us today, and all of these adults come to work with us to deliberate the issues facing our beautiful Eastern Shore in the state of Maryland. We asked you to speak to our hearts, give us clear minds with which to make decisions, and give us ears to hear and wisdom to discern what is best and what is not okay. We thank you that you bring us here safely and you give us many opportunities to serve you. Bless our time together now in Jesus' name, amen.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's a great Friday afternoon or morning for what we got to do here today. First off, if I could get a motion to approve the minutes. Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Just for the good of the body, I just want to make a note that we did get a wonderful thank you card from Delegate Hartman's family, and we appreciate that. I'm still so sorry for what happened. Okay. All right, we're ready to go. First up, we have our good Senator Van Hollen. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's great to be with you in the Eastern Shore delegation. And what I thought I'd do is just give you a brief sketch of, I think, where we are at the federal level. And just want to say we appreciate the opportunity to partner with you on many of these important issues between federal government, state government, and local government. Melissa Kelly from my team is on with us, and I want to thank her. She's a great ambassador for me, especially during this time when we've not been able to get around in person as much. Grateful for your working with her and the feedback you provide. But please feel free to call me anytime on constituent matters where we can help our mutual Marylanders. So here's where we are in terms of the vaccines, and I'm interested in what your perceptions are. We have been increasing the supply at the federal level. There were constraints on manufacturing for both Pfizer as well as Moderna. The good news is that through use of things like the Defense Production Act in different parts of the supply chain, we've been able to up that. So more should be coming on. Of course, Johnson & Johnson, we expect a favorable decision by FDA shortly, but we got to keep pushing that out. At the same time, there's the distribution system within the states, and looking forward to your feedback there. But based on the CDC rankings that I follow on a daily basis, Maryland continues to be at the back of the pack in terms of the amount of vaccine it has compared to what it has actually gotten distributed. So look forward to working with you on trying to find ways to address the bottlenecks in the system. Just in terms of the legislation that's passed, as you know, we passed the bipartisan bill back in December that provided important bridge relief into these early months of this year, both in terms of providing funds to fight the virus, and Maryland received $400 million in federal funds for that purpose. We're still trying to get a detailed understanding of exactly how the state has been deploying those funds, but those are for both vaccine deployment, but also for the purchase and the deployment of face masks and other PPE as we continue to weather the storm. And then, of course, it included important economic relief, everything from extending the unemployment insurance safety net for people who've lost their jobs because of COVID-19 to small business relief, the PPP program, which has been targeted more and more toward the most needy small businesses, as well as other provisions, a big one for schools. Every school in every county, every school district in every county in Eastern Shore receives substantial relief there as part of our effort to try to provide resources to open schools as soon as possible and as safely as possible. And then the universities, both the four-year institutions and all the community colleges on the Eastern Shore received funding for their operations. So those are some of the major categories that were included in the bill. I should also mention there was $7 billion nationally for broadband, both to help lower income families access broadband, but also for more broadband build out in the rural areas. And this has been a priority of mine, and it's going to continue to be before the pandemic, and as we've all discovered, become even more important during the pandemic. So really briefly, we are now in what I think may be the final weeks of consideration of President Biden's plan, the American Rescue Plan, which does a number of things. It continues a number of the programs that I just mentioned. And importantly, the rental assistance program, which we actually launched in that December bill, where funds are provided to prevent mass evictions. Once the eviction moratoriums are lifted, I think we're all worried about a tsunami of evictions from people who have these balloon payments due. So the rental assistance was an important component of the December bill and will also be included in the next round. There also, as I'm sure you've been reading, the individual payments piece of that legislation. One thing I do want to highlight that was not included in the December bill is assistance for state, but most importantly, from my perspective, local government. And when I say local government, I'm talking about funds that will now come directly to each Eastern Shore county and funds that will also go to each municipality in the state of Maryland. And just to give you a sense of the range, and again, these are preliminary. This is based on what the House of Representatives bill currently has. Things can change, obviously, through the course. So this could be a moving target, but the analysis right now indicates that, for example, every county on the shore will receive funds from a high of $20 million for Cecil and Wicomico to $4 million for Kent County. And all the other counties get amounts in between. And as I said, municipalities will also receive funds based on a formula that includes population. So I thought you should all be aware of that. Again, it's a moving target. Things could change. But one of the lessons, I think people learned from the first round is you don't want all the funds having to filter down through the state of Maryland. The state will receive funds under this proposal, but some of the funds will now travel directly to counties and directly to municipalities to help with first responders and others on the front line. So I wanted to mention that. We're also going to be increasing broadband connectivity for students through the E-rate program in this next bill. And this next bill will provide additional funds for schools and childcare centers to better prepare themselves for getting kids back into school as fast as possible, but as safely as possible. And it also includes additional funds for the vaccine deployment efforts and trying to better track these different strains of the coronavirus that we're seeing. So that in a nutshell, let me mention one thing on the H-2B visa programs. The program it was fully subscribed just this week. And so we will be pressing to increase the amounts issued by the Department of Homeland Security. And we've been in communication with a lot of the seafood folks on the Eastern Shore. And finally, the U.S. Post Office. This has been a real nightmare for so many people. The holiday crush, the Christmas season, was huge delays, which hurt small businesses, people who had their bill payments in the mail and the people didn't get them on time. So there were late fees, all sorts of problems. So that's despite the fact we provided the post office with $10 billion in December. So just want you to know we are on the every day pushing the post office to try to fix this, to bring on emergency personnel because some folks are out because of COVID-19, and to put back some of the sorting machines that we're taking out of some of the mail processing places in the fall. So that's my report in a nutshell. Look forward, Mr. Chairman and members of the delegation, any questions you may have.
We do have some questions. Thank you very much. Senator Hershey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Great. Senator, thank you very much for all your comments, and obviously your updates about the vaccines and broadband are very important. But I wanted to bring one other issue to your attention, and I know that you and Senator Cardin have been champions of the Chesapeake Bay. Delegate Jacobs and I have recently submitted legislation that would not allow FERC to move forward with the relicensing of the Exelon's Conowingo Dam unless the water quality certification process remained in Maryland. It's part of the Section 401 Clean Water Act. And we've both had, I think, very good hearings about it. It's a big concern. Obviously, as you know, this relicensing would be for the next 50 years. And there's been negotiation back and forth between our Department of Environment and Exelon on what a settlement would be. And I just want to let you know that on Wednesday, Exelon and MDE sent a joint letter to FERC asking for an immediate position or approval of the relicensing application. And we just thought that the timing of that was awfully strange, considering we had legislation here amongst the General Assembly to, in a sense, not allow that to go forward unless certain parameters were met with regards to the water certification license. And so, any help that, or, one, if you're aware of it, but two, any help that you could provide to make sure that in this, once in a lifetime opportunity to hold Exelon accountable for what's behind the Conowingo Dam, and more importantly, get them to be a true partner in cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay and helping our water quality, would be greatly appreciated from you. I know there's a new FERC that's in place with the new administration. Hopefully they look a little bit more kindly on the environment, and maybe that's a win for us, but we would certainly appreciate yours and Senator Cardin's help in any way that you can with this issue.
Well, thanks for raising that issue. And I've been following it very closely, although I was not aware of the recent communication from the state of Maryland and Exelon. So let me look into that right away, because as you say, Senator Cardin and I have been, first of all, we've been beating on the EPA to do more to hold the state of Pennsylvania accountable as a whole for the fact that they are way behind and missing the targets for nutrient reduction as a state, and also focused on the Conowingo Dam piece. I will say that I did not think that the agreement reached between the state and Exelon was sufficient in terms of addressing Maryland's interests. And I agree with you that this is a moment where we have leverage to get them to do the right thing. So I will follow up with you. I'll have Melissa follow up with you immediately, and we'll follow up as well with the folks at the state level regarding the reissuance of the license and the conditions that apply, because
Correct.
there's no excuse for allowing the dam and Exelon to not contribute their fair share to this cleanup effort.
Thank you so much, Senator, and I'll certainly get in touch with Melissa right away as well and get you all the information you need. I appreciate
Yeah,
your
that'd be
support.
great. We'd like to work with you. Get on it right away.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
No problem. Delegate John Mouts.
Good morning, Senator. Thanks for being here.
Good to be with you.
I just have a little granular point to share with you when you get into this with the Postal Service and the work that
Yeah.
you're doing and trying to put pressure. I know it's a national problem, but on the shore, they're sending our mail to Baltimore to be sorted. And when you get into those negotiations, whatever is done, make sure that you hit home that mail on the shore should stay on the shore and not be sent to Baltimore and then sent back to the Eastern Shore. I mean, this trying to change the Postal Service is, I mean, it's like trying to stem the flow of a river. They just don't want to play nice. And when you get into, they say, well, we're doing X, Y, and Z. Please put your hand on the desk and say, is that mail from the Eastern Shore staying on the shore, or is it being sent to Baltimore and then sent back to the Eastern Shore? And that's a really important granular aspect to the problems that we've had. And it's cost us a lot of money and a lot of pain.
So Delegate Mouts, that's I'm glad you raised it. Look, this has been the same has been true, for example, in Carroll County. A lot of the mail goes through Baltimore, and then sorting machines were taken out of the Baltimore mail processing facilities last fall. We raised hell about it, and we're working to get those sorting machines back. Let me ask you this: is that a new development in terms of Eastern Shore mail, or is that the way it's always been, and now we have slowdowns because of things like the sorting machines in Baltimore?
Well, it changed. It used to be, we used to have an in-town mail or local mail and then out-of-town mail. The mail would not go to Baltimore. It would stay on the shore and it would be delivered on time and it would be delivered. Now that it's going to Baltimore, we've got mail that's just disappearing.
Yeah, no, I know. Do you know when that changed, when that change was made?
It started happening through the COVID. This all happened in the last year. And maybe someone else on this call would know more than I.
Okay.
At first it was a COVID thing, then it was mail-in ballot thing, and then it was a Trump thing, and then it was this thing or that thing. And everybody's just fed up with, whatever the cause was. It's just,
No, I know. We're just trying to get to the bottom of this because we've been all over the Postmaster General about the systemic problems nationally, and the causes seem to be a number of areas, but one, for example, they did take out sorting machines. Number two, because of COVID, you have a lot of employees who are not coming into work, and so what we said is you should use this $10 billion that was provided in December and earlier funds to hire more people on an emergency basis. And finally, if you need to pay overtime to people who are working, because some people are out, for goodness sakes, do that, but keep the mail going. Instead, we recently saw a plan proposed that would actually take a bad situation and make it worse. So this is, but I will get on this specific issue that you're raising about mail from the Eastern Shore, the change being made, so it now runs through Baltimore instead of having a local
We got that.
system.
Thank you for recognizing the idea that make a bad situation worse. We got a saying that goes something like, if you're digging yourself a hole, the way to fix that is to stop digging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, thanks for being
All
with
right.
us. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Take care.
Next up, we have Senator Eckert.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add to the discussion, and Senator, thank you so much. Yes, this mail situation has been going on for a long time, but several years ago, there was a move to, instead of sending everything to Easton, it would go to Easton and then to Baltimore and then come back to the shore. So it's gotten very complicated, and it was a cost saving measure, job saving measure that happened that I think many of us remember a while ago. So it's got to stop because it was really worse. And we have a number of people who still have not gotten bills paid because of this. I mean, it's crazy. So just my 2 cents on that. But thank you for working on broadband and those other issues that it's just so vital to our infrastructure here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, Senator. And we'll try and figure out the history here on the change with the post office and see if we can, reverse whatever decisions were made whenever they were made, because it is a disaster all around. I'm not one of those people, unfortunately, who's having to wait on their medicines or have their bills paid, but I do know we ordered some Christmas gifts from local Marylanders to send to people around the country. And it was like 6 weeks later, they hadn't gotten them. And we're calling the Maryland small business going, what happened? So.
You got it.
All right, any other questions for the Senator? Seeing none, sir. Senator Van Hollen, as always, it's a pleasure to see you and thank you for coming. We look forward to an update in the near future.
Well, thank you all, and we'll follow up on the issues that were raised this morning. It's great to be with the Eastern Shore delegation. Take care.
Listen, thank you again for Melissa. We enjoy her.
She's been a terrific part of our team. So thanks.
Well, I think we all know that part of that side of our careers. They're the best. So thank you.
Yeah. Take care.
Yeah. You too. All right. Next up, we have a budget briefing. Hiram, are you ready?
Yes. Let me just get the document on the screen. I think we sent this to everyone a week or two ago. So I'm just going to go over the highlights, some of the key points relating to funding for the Eastern Shore. There's a lot of information in this report. You can feel free to contact our office if you have specific questions. But as you can see on page 3, the counties on the Eastern Shore will receive around $700 million in state aid in the fiscal 2022 budget. This is a $16 million increase from the prior year. 4 of the Eastern Shore counties, you can see Caroline, Dorchester, Wycomico, and Somerset are on the top 5 in the level of state support on a per capita basis. You can see that Cecil County state funding is around average. They receive slightly above the state average. And 4 jurisdictions on the shore, Talbot, Kent, Worcester, and Queen Anne's receive less state aid on a per capita basis, and that is due to their relatively high local tax base. Around 70% of state funding is based on local wealth, and that takes into account a jurisdiction's property tax base and local income tax base. If we move to page 8, it goes over some of the proposed reductions that are in the state budget through the Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act. The administration is proposing 2 primary reductions in state funding this year. It's a $26.6 million reduction to the Senator Cade Community College formula. And of that amount, $1.8 million would come from the 3 community colleges on the shore. In addition, the administration is proposing altering the state-local cost share arrangement for property tax assessments. Right now, the cost to do property tax assessments within the State Department of Assessments and Taxation is shared 50-50. The governor is proposing the locals share increase to 60% this year, phasing up to 90% by fiscal 2025. Statewide, the cost will be an additional $3.9 million to local governments in fiscal 22 and around $16 million in additional cost to local governments when it's fully phased in. For the 9 counties on the Eastern Shore, the additional cost in fiscal 2022 will be $450,000, and by fiscal 25, the additional cost for shore counties will be $1.8 million. Both of these proposals need to be approved by the General Assembly before they are actually implemented. If we turn to page 12, this shows you the level of state support for police aid formula. And you can see here that the counties on the Eastern Shore would get around $4.8 million in funding this year. This formula is not been affected this year. And that is a slight increase from the prior year. And as you can see on this page, most of the funding for the police aid formula is based on population density. Jurisdictions, more urbanized jurisdictions, receive a considerable amount more funding. Also, a small portion of the program is based on the number of municipal sworn officers within a jurisdiction. As you can see on page 15, it shows the level of state support for fire and rescue aid. Jurisdictions on the Eastern Shore would get around $3 million in funding this year. And we'll move quickly to funding for local highway user revenues. And as you can see, statewide, there's around $254 million in funding for local governments. Jurisdictions on the Eastern Shore would get around $16.7 million. And as you can see here, the county governments on the shore would get $8.7 million, and the municipalities on the shore would get $8 million. The split between county and municipal funding is based on road mileage and vehicle registration. Page 21 provides some information on the disparity grant program. And this is a very important program for the Eastern Shore. Around 5 counties on the Eastern Shore receives funding under this program, and they are Caroline, Cecil, Dorchester, Somerset, and Wicomico. Total funding provided this year will total around $23.9 million. As you know, House Bill 737 was passed last year. That would have provided an additional $5.6 million in funding to the Eastern Shore. The governor vetoed the legislation last year due to concerns relating to the economic challenges facing the state as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The General Assembly overrode the governor's veto this year, so those additional funds will be available, but not until next year, because you cannot add funding to the governor's budget bill for the current year. We'll now turn to funding for the public school system. Around 80% of state aid to local governments goes to the public school systems. And the 9 local school systems on the shore would get around $530 million in direct funding from the state. This is a $12 million increase from the prior year. In addition, the state will provide around $60 million in support for teachers' retirement payments. And as you can see on this page, 5 of the local school systems on the Eastern Shore receive above average state support. Somerset County receives the most state funding on a per pupil basis. Caroline, Wicomico, and Dorchester counties are also in the top 5. There are several factors that is influencing funding for public schools, and that deals with student enrollment and local wealth. And this year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the implementation of online instruction, there has been a sharp decrease in student enrollment. And this is something that has affected most local school systems statewide, except for Dorchester County. Dorchester County is the only school system in the state that did not report a decline in their FTE student enrollment. But due to the overall decline in student enrollment, local school systems were facing a $204 million reduction under the state's major funding formulas. To prevent that from happening, the governor has provided around $214 million in hold harmless grants that are provided through the Blueprint program, And the local school systems on the shore will get around $18 million in hold harmless grants. If we go back to page 32, it shows the level of support that is included in the state budget for the Blueprint initiatives. And local school systems on the shore would get around $40 million in funding under the Blueprint. This funding includes around $16 million for supplemental instruction, around $6 million in concentration of poverty grants, and around $7 million in additional funding for full-day kindergarten. And finally, we'll talk about the state is providing an additional funding for targeted student populations. And Eastern Shore counties would get around $170 million in funding under these three major programs. It's a compensatory aid program that is based on free and reduced price meal count, the English language learners program, and special education. And as you can see on the per pupil rankings, Somerset, Wycomico, Caroline, and Dorchester are in the top 5. For this program, you can see that Talbot County and Kent County and Worcester County is basically in the middle. And that is due to the fact that those three school systems tend to have a higher share of at-risk students that comprises the formulas for those three programs. But even though they do have a higher amount of those students due to the local wealth amount, their funding is basically in the middle. So those are the basically key highlights relating for state funding. And I have some speaking points that I can send to you probably later today that goes over more in depth of what is going on, but I just wanted to touch the highlights this morning. And if you have any questions about the briefing document or any additional questions you may have regarding funding for the Eastern Shore counties, feel free to contact our office. And I'm open for any questions now.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I'm not seeing any hands up just yet. Hiram, it looks like you did a great job. I don't see a hand.
Okay, very good. So if you do have any questions later, just give us a call.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, moving right along.
Chairman, I've got a question. I'm sorry. It's
Okay, Hiram, you still there?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Hi,
Don't get
Hiram,
mad.
thank you. Would it be possible to get a copy of your slide deck that you presented, emailed to our office, or do we already have that?
We can send
I
another
don't have a
copy.
question.
Yeah, we can send another copy today, and I also will be sending everyone the 4-page summary of the major key points affecting state aid on the shore. So you'll get the whole packet later today. And just contact us if you have any questions about it.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have another question. Speaker Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I did have a question. Hiram, thank you for your presentation. I always appreciate it, but I'd have to go back and take all the detailed notes. If you could just for me real briefly, just remind me of the formula that's going to affect the community college, Warwick Community College in particular. I just wanted to understand that a little bit better. How?
Right. What has happened there is that the governor has proposed limiting the increase in funding under the community college CADE formula to the growth in general fund revenues. So even though most of the community colleges will receive an increase in funding from the prior year, their increase is not as large as it would have been provided under the existing formula. So the governor is proposing to kind of control or cap the annual increase in this program to the increase in the growth in general fund revenues.
So every year moving forward, they will see this reduction, correct? Based on this new formula?
Correct.
Okay.
That is my understanding at this
So
point.
our counties got to plan accordingly, possibly to add more to their contribution?
If correct.
Okay.
Right, but that plan has to be approved by the General Assembly.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
All right, I think that about does it there. You're good.
All right, very good.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have the Maryland Rural Health Association. Laura Wilson, please. Welcome.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I wanted to just really briefly, I have 5 minutes here for you today just to remind you who we are and what we're all about, show you some of our advocacy priorities and field any questions. I am Laura Wilson. I'm the Executive Director for the Maryland Rural Health Association. I've met many of you in person and very happy to see a lot of you today in your faces. I wanted to also introduce my colleague, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be putting up my presentation on the screen or if that was something that you were going to be doing on your end.
If you want to put it up, you have the ability to share right now.
Okay, great. Well, before I share, I'll just introduce my colleague, Sam. Samantha, do you want to really briefly introduce yourself for everybody?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Samantha, and I'm currently a student in the Master's of Public Health program at Johns Hopkins, and I've been interning with MRHA since last fall. And so as the legislative intern for this session, I attend MRHA's legislative committee meetings. I prepare written testimony, and I've actually had the chance to testify in support of House Bill 34 at the Health and Government Operations and in Insurance and Pharmaceuticals Subcommittee.
Great, thank you so much. So I'm going to share this, hopefully that works. So this is just a really brief who MRHA, what we're all about. And so we are an education and advocacy organization. As many of you know and have participated, we do an annual conference every year. This year was virtual. And we have a very active legislative committee. We have over 50 committee members. And we have committee members from all different types of organizations across Maryland, but specifically across the shore, hospitals, federally qualified health centers, health departments, other small clinics, the Eastern Shore AHEC, individuals, statewide organizations. And we've weighed in on a lot of bills, as Sam can attest to, across telehealth, broadband, oral health, COVID response. So just wanted to show you this slide, and then I'll just really briefly go to the next slide. So these are our 2021 advocacy priorities. And you can see here on the left-hand side, really interested in supporting efforts around the COVID pandemic, social justice, health equity, addressing social determinants of health. Workforce shortages are very important, focusing on strategies that align with the Maryland model, advocating for behavioral health practices and access to our patients across the shore. And then again, everything from telehealth to broadband to that last mile, super important. Just a quick note too, we are also very supportive of some of the state granting organizations, including the Community Health Resources Commission and the Rural Maryland Council. See some of my colleagues on the phone supporting the MERDAF funding and the Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Funds. And then kind of that last note there about affordable health insurance coverage. And then you can see on the right-hand side, a lot of our partners and our members that we've talked about. So that was really our main point, wanting to make sure that you know that we are here, that we are a resource and a partner. If there's anything that we can ever do to help support initiatives that you're working on, that also kind of make sure that there's that two-way communication, and that we know we can come to you as a partner. So just wanted to say good morning and share that information with everybody, and then pause in case there's any questions about any initiatives we're working on. We're also focused right now on helping with, I know that there's a balancing act right now. There's a vaccine hesitancy issue with community members not interested in taking the vaccine. And at the same time, there's some severe access issues with our community members that aren't getting the number of vaccines that they need to be able to vaccinate those that want to be vaccinated. So we're staying closely involved with those organizations that are kind of dealing with both of those challenges right now.
Great. Any questions? If not, I have one real brief one for you. In my county in particular, I get emails all the time about some of the people, high-risk people, as far as trying to get access to the vaccine. I know
Yeah.
in county, we have our health department has reached out to our churches, every denomination reached out to senior centers, and they're trying to get the word out, but it's amazing how many people still have no clue how to go about this. And then we do have a large population that don't know how to use a computer. They might be elderly, and they don't have access to it, and they don't want to have access to it. Can you maybe tell me what things you might be doing or could do, or if we could reach out to you for some help on that some way?
Yeah, so I'm happy to help there. I mean, some of the things that I've been seeing recently that making their phone number available. So especially for seniors that do not want to use a computer, making it available to get an appointment through a phone number. And I do believe that that goes through the health department, but I think that making people know that there's a phone access, I think, is really important. They don't have to use a computer, and that there's people that are willing to answer that phone on the other end to get them signed up for that appointment and that follow-up appointment.
Okay. Do I see any other, thank you very much. Do I see any other questions? Yeah. I'm not seeing any hands, so I apologize.
No, that's okay. Yeah, just that you've probably seen our testimony on a lot of the bills. We've been trying to be really active. I know that not a lot of, testifying in person. Sam did have the opportunity, but a lot of written testimony, making sure that rural voice is heard for the bills that are going through the session this year.
Well, we appreciate that. Okay, seeing no questions, I appreciate your time here. The good news is we're speeding up, so we're going to be able to get the session on time. So at this time, I'd like to go through some recognition. Can we talk to our federal partners, please, if they're in the audience?
Good morning. This is Kimberly Cradaville from Senator Ben Cardin's office. I would say we got the ultimate federal update today with the senator. So he covered a lot of bases that I think that we would hit. I will say that what he addressed, the funding coming down the pipeline from the federal government, our office is working on a resource guide that we'll disseminate as soon as it's ready. And also in the midst of all this, we are still going to be going through appropriations asks. And so we'll be sending that out to the counties as well. Like I said, the senator covered most of the highlights. University of Maryland Eastern Shore got a National Science Foundation grant for $946,000, which was pretty cool. So anyway, I'll hand it over to Melissa.
Just a couple things. Thanks again for having the senator on. Just to let you know, some hot topics, J1 visas. I think it was yesterday, the day before. Thank you, Senator Mathias, for bringing that to my attention. President Biden overwrote the prohibitive order that the former president had put in place. However, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get them. It's pending travel restrictions. We continue to monitor that and are working closely with the Ocean City officials. We understand there's some issues potentially with the processing should that flow come in greatly at the beginning of April, and we're working with the Social Security offices in that region as well. And he touched on the H-2B visa issues. We understand there were some that were left out due to the nature of the storm. The ice storm prevented some mail delivery. So we're trying to, as you said, get some extension on those numbers and help out our watermen. So thank you again for having him. If you have any other questions, please give me a call.
Thank you. Congressman Ernst's office.
Chairman Ernst, just a couple of other things that they didn't mention. We got news just yesterday that FEMA has awarded Region 3, which Maryland is part of, $1.2 billion in funds to reimburse states for COVID-19 costs. Maryland's share of that was $649,676,722. So that should be helpful to add to the coffers here in Maryland. And then just one other thing, USD is now accepting rural business development grant applications. The deadline for, now the interesting thing, it's called rural development grants, but it's important to note that individual businesses cannot apply for this. So this is government entities that can apply for this. And the deadline for application is March 31st. And the rural business development grant funds can be used to provide technical assistance and training for small rural businesses, but it has to go through the government entities like economic development commissions or that sort of thing can make the applications. To learn more about it, if anybody's interested in that, there's a young lady by the name of Letitia Nichols that works in Dover. She's the program director. And her email, if you want to put it down, is Letitia, LETITIA.Nichols, NICHOLS @USDA.gov. So that would be a probably a good source of some money for a government entity. And that's it for me.
Okay. Melissa, did you have another question or?
Yeah, just to tack on, I know Mike usually does a really good job of covering the grants, and thank you for mentioning that. That was on my list too, Mike. But specifically for the counties of Caroline, Kent, and Queen Anne, the SBA has opened up an EIDL disaster loans for those counties due to the excessive rain that occurred between August 1st and September 1st. The filing deadline isn't until October 21st. We'll push that information out to you. Just wanted to let those county reps know that is available. So that's for small businesses, small ag companies, some aquaculture in there. So we'll send that out to you.
All right. That sounds great. Thank you very much. Delegation, any questions or comments? Seeing none. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm sorry it's an abbreviated meeting. We are getting into the time of the year where these things will go a little faster for us, and our committees with COVID, we're meeting on Friday mornings, which we never did this early before. So we'll keep you updated, and we'll just try to keep getting the information out to you all. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for attending, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Adjourned.
Bye-bye.
Move to
Take care.
adjourn.